The siren hit first, thin and mean in the desert air, and my stomach dropped before my brain caught up. I remember the slap of heat coming off the concrete, the dull rattle of our old Saturn wagon idling behind me, and the way the woman in the white visor didn't look at me so much as through me, like I was a smudge on her sunglasses that wouldn't wipe off. If you've ever had a stranger decide who you are and announce it out loud, you know that weird floaty feeling where time stretches, where every ordinary detail suddenly shines like evidence me wife's tired shoulders, the faded college sticker on our bumper, the receipt I'd folded twice and jammed into my pocket without thinking. We were at a Sun Fuel on the edge of Ridgeview, Arizona, the kind of nowhere stop where trucks groan in on Highway 17 and keep rolling south, and the sky sits big and heavy like a warm lid. Maya had the pump. I had the radioldies on low end. We were halfway through a long day of errands we didn't even want to do. That's when the pearl-white Range Rover slid in at the next island, and the world got small around one person. Linen tennis dress, diamond stud that could guide ships, posture like a judge. She fumbled her card once, twice, then snapped her head toward us with this tight smile that said, "You're the reason my life is difficult." "Ma'am," she called, but it wasn't a question and it wasn't polite. "You can't just stand there pretending. Your pump's not even running. Move along." Maya gave the little shrug people give when they're trying to apologize for existing. "It takes a second on ours," she said, tired but gentle. The reader's finicky. Visor didn't hear gentle. She heard defiance. She jabbed her card again, harder, like the machine would respect the force. "Right," she said, louder. "And I'm sure you paid with a card that belongs to a cousin or a friend. Don't start the waterworks, just step aside." I felt it like a sting at the back of my neck. That tone that splits the world into people who deserve patience and people who don't. I stepped out of the shade, palms open. "Everything's fine," I said. She had her phone up already, a little tremor of excitement in the arm, like a hunter steadying a scope. "Yes," she told 911, bright and breathless. "There's a theft in progress. Sun Fuel off exit 64. Woman in a gray tee, brown ponytail, using a stolen card to pump gas, acting nervous. Please hurry." I looked at Maya and watched her go pale. She hates confrontation, the kind that isn't a misunderstanding you can talk your way back from. "Evan," she said, voice small. "What is she doing?" "She's performing," I said, more to keep my own voice steady than anything. "And the performance has a finale." It did. Two cruisers rolled in quiet and quick, like they'd rehearsed the angle of attack. Officer Moralestal, jaw like a plumb line, took the Range Rover lady first. His partner, Officer Keating, walked toward us with a clipboard, calm, eyes scanning, not unkind. "Afternoon," he said. "What's going on?" Maya's hand shook just a little as she kept the nozzle steady. "I paid," she said. "I paid inside and I've got the receipt. Our car is just slow." "Uh-huh." Keating's voice didn't make promises either way. "You got that receipt, ma'am?" I'm not proud of this next beat. How my mouth went dry. How the part of me that's still a kid who hates authority wanted to bolt, because the truth is I had it. I reached into my pocket and passed him the crumpled paper with the ink already fading in the sun. He read it, and his expression twitched at the edges the way a person's does when they're trying not to laugh at a funeral. Morales glanced over from Visor Lady, who was in full civic hero mode, and took the paper too. Same twitch, deeper now. The woman in the white visor. Later, I would learn she's Victoria Hale. Charity board this, tennis ladder that. A whole resume of being a babe. Planted her hands on her hips and announced, "Officers, the pump wasn't working because she's scamming the reader." She wouldn't make eye contact. "I'm telling you, I know what I saw." Keating turned the receipt so she could read. "What you saw," he said gently, "was her husband buying a Dr. Pepper, 2 jerky sticks, a pack of sour gummies. And this is the part that's slowing the Registera $5 scratcher. No fuel on this receipt. None." Victoria blinked like the sun had just changed brightness. That can't be right. She's at the pump." "Correct," Morales said, not unkind. "And your card wasn't working because the last transaction on that terminal was still tied to theirs. You were trying Gaxidina pay for their gas." Something hollowed out behind her eyes, a private recalculation that looked a lot like panic. She pivoted to indignation with a speed that would have impressed a gymnast. "Well, how was I supposed to know?" She was acting suspicious. Keating nodded at the black dome of the security camera above the door. Lucky for everyone, the eye in the sky doesn't get nervous. Also, this is important. 9/11 is for emergencies. False reports waste resources and get people hurt. I'm going to need your license. I won't pretend I didn't feel relief wash over me like cool water. I also won't pretend it fixed everything. Because humiliation landmines your brain. You step on one, and the blast echoes for hours. The manager came out then, a compact man in a navy polo with A Vega stitched over the pocket and a coil of sympathy in his face. "We're good," he asked the officers, then looked at Victoria like he was recognizing a storm front he'd seen before. "Ma'am, we don't tolerate customers harassing customers. I'm saving the footage. You're not welcome back." Victoria sputtered. People who are used to being the weather don't like to be told where to ring. Morales wrote the citation slow and patient, handed it over with a paper-thin smile, and the Range Rover slid away with the smallest squeal of tires, like the car wanted the last word. When the cruisers left, everything felt louder: the clunk of the pump hanging up, the slap of the hose, the cicadas sawing at the mesquite. I took a breath that finally made it to the bottom of my lungs. Maya leaned into me for a second, the kind of lean that's less about gravity and more about permission to stop being brave. "I thought," she said. "For a second I thought I was going to jail for a thing I didn't do." She gave this half laugh that's really a sigh in a different outfit. I hate that she made me feel that small. I held up the receipt, suddenly aware of how stupid and sacred that little slip had become in 15 minutes. "You know what's funny?" I said, because my brain needed a lid on the boiling, needed a joke to hang on to. "We never rubbed the scratch off. We sat in the shade of the car and used my quarter. I can tell you I didn't expect much. We're not lucky people in the way movies make it look. No free coffee streaks, no fourth caller wins contest. But the numbers lined up like a row of open doors down a hallway, and then the big number, the one that looked like a typo, stared up at us in silver dust. $250,000. My laugh came out wrong, too wet at the edges, so I grabbed Maya's hand, and we just looked at each other like we were trying to agree on reality. We didn't go home. Home is where you open bills, sort laundry, explain to your own tired couch why you're still awake. We found a diner with a neon sign that buzzed in a comforting way and a waitress named Lena who called everyone honey, like it wasn't a script. We put the ticket on the table between the salt and the ketchup as if it might wander off if we didn't keep it in our eye line. And we did math we'd never been allowed to do, the kind of math that starts with "what if" and ends with "breathing room." Student loans, gone. Credit card, gone. A set of tires that doesn't hum at 50 miles per hour, finally. And then the part of the conversation that surprised me because it was the part that didn't actually involve the money. Maya stirred her coffee until it went cold, eyes soft but flinty. "I know it's petty," she said, "but I want her to feel what I felt. Not because she's rich or drives that car, but because she looked at me and saw a story she liked better than the truth. She'll do it again. People like that always do until something makes them stop and think." I stared at the ticket, at the way luck can't tell the difference between justice and coincidence. I don't believe in cosmic fairness. Most days life is a chaotic spreadsheet with no formulas, but I do believe in narrative. I believe in the kind of punctuation you give a season of your life so you can move on. "Okay," I said, and when I heard my own voice it had steel in it I didn't know I owned. "Then let's write an ending she can't skip." The idea stitched itself together between us like we'd been building it quietly for years. Not a lawsuit those eat you alive and spit you out with lawyer bills and headaches. Not a screaming match those end up on somebody's phone. Something cleaner, bolder, unervingly polite. We slept on it, if you can call what we did sleeping, and the next morning we found a small ad agency downtown with concrete floors and plants that somehow looked expensive. The creative director Keisha, all braids and black-rimmed glasses, and a laugh that meant business listened while we told it straight. "You want to buy a billboard," she said, tapping her pen, "across from that Sunfuel. You don't want names, you don't want to smear. You want to thank you." "Exactly," Maya said, and I watched something light up in her, something that looked a lot like dignity wearing its own face again. A thank you for the lesson, for the luck, for the reminder that not everything you assume about strangers is true. Keisha smiled a slow yes. "It's petty and it's perfect," she said, which is my favorite intersection. We were careful with the words so I had a lawyer friend read them, because spite is a spice, not the whole stew. The image was enormous. Not our ticket, but a ticket, tilted in that way billboards like, with glittery silver caught mid-scratch. The copy was simple, almost gentle. To the woman who called 911 at Sunfuel, thanks for the good luck. The universe has a sense of humor. Waiting for it to go up was a special kind of torture. You don't realize how many errands can take you past a future you ordered until you're counting streetlights. When the call came in late afternoon, heat shimmering off the highway, we drove there without talking, because some moments you don't narrate. You just let happen. The billboard sang against the blue like it had been rehearsing its whole life for this sky. Driver slowed. Somebody honked, not angry, more like they were reacting to a punchline they'd just gotten. We stood across the road by the feed store and held hands. And for the first time since the siren, my body didn't feel like it belonged to someone else. I don't know if luck loves symmetry or if humans just hunt for it, but life wrote one more scene whether we deserved it or not. The Range Rover eased into Sunfuel like a cat that owns the fence. Victoria climbed out in black leggings and a ponytail that tried to say normal, phone to her ear, eyes on the pump. She finished the call, turned to cross the street to the cashier, and her gaze snagged on the sign like fabric on a nail. She didn't move for a breath, then two. Her mouth opened and nothing came out, and the way her shoulders sank told me she read every inch, every letter, every ounce of restraint inside the message. She wasn't the audience, not really Ridgeview was, but she felt the weight of being seen. Maya squeezed my hand. Not triumph, not exactly relief, with a little mercy mixed in. Mercy for ourselves. Mercy for the version of us that almost got dragged someplace darker by a stranger's story. On the way home, we turned the radio up and rolled the windows down even though the air was a hairdryer. Because some days you need noise and wind and the oldest song you both know to push old feelings out. We did the boring paperwork at the lottery office, signed our names like adults, and then went back to building a life that looked like ours, only a little wider at the edges. People ask when they hear the story because stories like this find ears even if you don't try. If the billboard was too much, if it made us the bad guys, if it punished someone already embarrassed. I don't think so, but I also don't get to be the judge of that for everyone. I know we didn't call her names or post her face. We didn't demand penance. We're the kind who prefer a well-aimed wink to a scream. We're the kind who know the difference between justice you can hold in your hand and justice that lives in how you carry yourself afterward. If you were there on the shoulder of Highway 17 and saw that sign blazing clean against the sky, maybe you'd have rolled your eyes, maybe you'd have cheered, maybe you'd have called it petty art. I get all of it. But I'll tell you what I tell myself when I think back to the first wail of that siren. The day didn't break us. It calibrated us. And when I picture Victoria looking up, seeing a message that wasn't for her and was absolutely for her, I don't feel cruel. I feel done. That's worth something. So now it's your turn. Was the billboard a fair answer, or a step too far? Smart boundary, or polished pettiness? Would you have pressed charges, walked away, or done something sharper or kinder? Drop your take below, tell me where you're watching from, and share the messiest moment a stranger ever got you wrong. If you're into stories about justice, luck, and the strange little ways communities hold a mirror up to our better and worse selves, hit like, share this with a friend who needs a smile, and subscribe for the next one. Let's argue it out in the comments, but keep it human.